capacity to do things, so we just shut them all off.
He should dedicate his life even more to Christ in service of the church.
Can you, any co-host can mute in the meeting that's not a member? That would be helpful as doing this other things here.
He after being well renowned by others, but he left it to enter what
Looks like we have them all. Who's this now? Okay. All right. Welcome, everyone. This is Chuck Teroni, Ready Conservation Administrator, pursuant to state legislation superseding certain provisions of the open meeting law, general laws 30A, section 20, relating to the COVID-19 emergency. January 24th, 2024 public meeting of the Reading Conservation Commission shall be simultaneously broadcast virtually on Zoom and open for public participation. Please note that this meeting is being recorded. The materials of this meeting are available at the following link, which I'll provide. And Martha Moore, the Conservation Chair, will facilitate tonight's meeting. Please note that there will be public comment period for each hearing. Each vote taken during tonight's meeting will be conducted by roll call vote. We'll begin with a roll call attendance. Martha, can you please take attendance and review tonight's agenda?
Sure. Let's start with the people who are viewing from Zoom. Please say your name when I call on you. Andy.
Andrew Dribbin, member present.
Walter.
Walter Talbot, member present.
Bill.
Bill McCants, member present, and I just want to state for the record, I reviewed the last 31 minutes of the previous public hearing that I was not present for. Thanks.
Thank you. Tony.
Tony Rodolakis, member, present.
Brian.
Brian Bowe, vice chair, present.
And Martha Moore, chair, present. We hopefully will have a shorter meeting this time. Zero Small Lane will ask us to vote to continue 87 Walker's Brook Drive. We closed last week and we will be discussing that now. Zero Annette Lane, we will vote to continue. Main Street and 10 Pinevale Ave, we will vote to continue. We have a hearing for 71 Tennyson and Walnut Street. We have already continued, I believe. And then we have some old new business, some conservation issues, and we have minutes for approval. I believe we only have November and December. I haven't seen the January minutes come out. Is that correct?
No, I'll send them out after this meeting.
Okay, so we have 2 sets of minutes to approve. Okay, and that's it. Let's hope we get out early tonight. And it is 7:08 and we're starting the meeting.
Great. First on the agenda is a continuation for Zero Small Lane, and that will be continued to May 22nd, 2024 at the applicant's request.
Can I get a motion to continue?
What was that date again? May what?
May 22nd.
Okay, this is Brian.
2024.
I'm making a motion to continue Zero Small Lane to May 22nd. Just-
Walter Talbot will second, but I also has the recording started.
Thank you, Walter.
Okay, Tony beat you to it, Walter, so Tony is seconding. And thank you for reminding us to record. And we can start the voting with Andrew.
Andrew Dribbin in favor.
Recording in progress.
Walter,
Walter Talbot in favor.
Oh. Bill McCants in favor.
Tony Rodolakis in favor. Brian Bowe in favor.
Martha Moore in favor, 6-0-0, moved by Brian, seconded by Tony. Okay, 87 Walker's Brook. We closed the hearing last week, but we have stuff we need to discuss now. I will read the blurb out loud. close the public hearing on a notice of intent filed by William Camuso Lee Enterprise LTD pursuant to Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 131, Section 40, the Wetlands Protection Act, and/or the Reading Wetland Protection Bylaw, Section 7.1. The applicant proposes to replace the fuel dispensers and associated piping. The protective mat located above the existing 4 underground storage tanks and concrete mat associated with the fuel canopy will also be replaced. All of the work is within the 100-foot buffer zone to a bordering vegetated wetland. The application and plans can be viewed during regular business hours at the Town Hall Conservation Office, 16 Lowell Street, Reading, Mass. 01867, and on the Conservation Division page under the project by year, Assessors Map 13, Lot 3, DEP file number 270-0777. We voted to close this hearing at our January 10th meeting.
Right.
Sure, is anyone here for this meeting? If you are, please raise your hands and I will give you permissions to turn on the screen, and although we're not allowing speaking, I just want to make sure no one's here.
Okay, so there's no one here for 87 Walker's Brook Drive that's on Zoom?
No.
And are you here for 87 Walker's Brook Drive? Okay.
Zero in that way.
Okay, that one is going to be continued, so we won't be discussing it tonight at all. That's why no one's here.
So have a pleasant
All due
evening.
respect.
Sure.
Thank you.
Okay.
Is there a date we scheduled to, or?
14th.
February 14th, Valentine's Day.
Thank you.
Okay,
So back to 87 Walker.
87 Walker's Brook. I think what we want to do is hire a consultant and pay for it ourselves. That was what we had talked about last
So
week.
given the next step would be for us to have a discussion about it, makes sense to me to get the input from a consultant before we discuss it, since it's got complexity and what have you. So I would like to offer a motion.
No, hold on a second. So, so we close, we have 21 days to issue, deny. And so I think the path forward, if you want to discuss with the Conservation Commission options, to find out if that's what others want to do, to go down that path, you'd want to say yes to hiring a consultant to help craft the denial or craft the approval in such a way that the commission feels confident with the outcome. And just to allow, I guess, get an approval to allow one commission member or 2 commission members to, I guess, help write the order of conditions and review the language that's put into it by the consultant, and then send it off prior to the end of the 21-day period.
I remember that because we have the time constraint. Yeah.
And so we've already used up 14 days of our 21 days. Is that right?
Yeah.
Because we closed on the 10th.
Mhm.
Okay.
End of the month.
So the motion will be to hire LEC to do that consulting work, results of which we would then put into the approval or denial with the input from a commission member.
So before anyone seconds that,
You mean it wasn't vague enough?
no, I think that step 1 would be we've closed. We want to discuss the project, path forward, and conditions. And then once we receive all those conditions, then you can make a motion to deny or approve,
Fair enough.
whatever you want to do. I think, I hope I'm not seeing your plan forward, but I do think that we need a few conditions. Or maybe this is the commission's opportunity to talk about the project for sure, because this is not typical.
Right. So can we have input from anybody on the commission what do you think we need to do next?
Well, we have a couple of options, right?
Okay, Tony first and then Walter next.
First would be to deny the application. And my recollection is the issue we're running into has to do with that stormwater discharge going off to the wetland on the side. So we could outright deny it. Number two, we could approve it, but issue conditions specifically requesting them to address that. That's another option.
Or any other work.
Before any other work. And the third option would be to go forward with an enforcement order. Is there anything else that?
Great, Tony, you've met the man. I just think that, I'm not sure, I think the second one would be to approve the project with a condition that, to include a condition requiring a resolution of that issue prior to starting the other work.
And if we deny, that doesn't necessarily get the project, the problem resolved, which is why we then would need to go for an enforcement order. So we could deny and follow up with an enforcement order, and they don't get to fix their tanks or, you know, upgrade their tanks, and they have to fix the problem. Okay, Walter.
Help me understand why we would end up having to pay for this third party.
I believe it's because the applicant has refused to agree to pay for it as part of their project. So if we want LEC to give us advice, the applicant is not footing that bill, and therefore we need to find the money to pay for that.
But I think we're going to, if I get the flavor correctly here, I think we're going to deny because of that drainage off to, as I look at the front, off to the right, that strange drainage spot going into the wetlands. Shouldn't they just correct that, period? I mean, why are we paying to have a third party for that?
I think it's important to have the conditions, the order of conditions written correctly, even if it's a denial, because we want to make sure that DEP upholds our approval or denial. And I think it's important moving forward. And this is not something that comes up all the time. So to get some help with the language and writing it, I mean, the order is pretty much the same, except at the end, you're going to say, hey, it's denied, and then one paragraph about that illicit discharge and how and when to take care of it based on, you know, the construction sequencing.
Or it could be approved
Well, that was, yeah,
with condition that they have to take care of the illicit discharge.
right.
So we have two routes we can go. In one case, we get upgraded gasoline tanks. In the other case, we don't. Bill.
Yeah, and unless I missed something at the hearing, I don't understand why we would approve. The applicant made it very clear they don't intend to do this. They're not paying for a consultant because they don't think they should have to do this, even though Department of Transportation, as I understand it, has now said, we gave you a permit, that's why you were on our land, and you did something you shouldn't have done and you need to fix it. And the property owner is saying, we're not going to fix this, telling the same story repeatedly. So there's that. So that's number one. I don't see how approval makes sense. Denial with conditions, I get that. Where I'm uncomfortable, and here I defer, for example, to Chuck's long experience. In my world, 21 days is now 7 days. Can you get a consultant to work that quickly? I certainly can't commit to reviewing this document. Maybe there are others on the commission who can, but those are questions we have to answer tonight. Because it is 7 days, and I'm sure you're all aware that case after case, year after year, commissions run afoul of the 21-day
Mhm.
requirement, and it all just falls apart. I know that that's not what we're aiming to do. It's just those 7 days are as real as can be. Okay, so those are my comments for now. Thanks.
Sure. I'll just let you know that it said it in the agenda that LEC has, agreed to work with the commission. And she's already reviewed the project. So that's can happen. The order can happen. The review can happen. I mean, she's obviously not doing any work on it yet, but certainly I think I'm looking for a review and a paragraph, maybe two.
So we're
No,
on
I appreciate that, Chuck. I want to be clear. I'm saying in the world I work in, that kind of deadline, you don't usually get a vendor. I realized they said they'd already agreed to do it. I was just, basically, commission makes a decision tonight. They're going to have to get right on it so that
Yeah.
other commissioners can review it in time for the 21 days. As you say, this is an unusual situation. This is where I was saying was relying on your experience. Perhaps you've seen this before. This particular vendor, they've raised their hand, they say they'll do it, and you have reason to trust that they can get it done, even with that strong time constraint. Because as you say, well, maybe it's 2 paragraphs, but it's 2 paragraphs that requires obviously a certain amount of thought and review. Thanks.
Exactly. Yeah.
And I think working backwards from the schedule, we need to have this wrapped up. We're on calendar days now, right? So we need to have this wrapped up really Tuesday night.
Mhm.
So I think to give the commission time to review things and propose edits and revisions, they would need to finish their review and their write-up by close of business Friday.
Yeah, so we're not asking for the entire commission. We're asking for a couple members that may look at it over the weekend or whatever, but I'm assuming that all that will work itself out, whoever the 2 members are, or 1 member, whichever. The members there to kind of keep us honest, but really most of the work will be self.
Andrew?
Yeah, I just wanted to ask what everyone else feels about the comments. I know Chuck wanted us to, as a commission, to state that we agreed it was illicit discharge, and to be honest, no one really spoke up. I don't know how I feel about that. It's just, there's obviously some baggage attached to this word. I clearly think that there's runoff that is coming off of the gas station that is not just rainwater. I know there's oils that are going into that little ditch, and whether it's illicit discharge is where I don't know what that means. So, but that's really what's at stake here, right? Because if we all, or the majority of us agree it's illicit discharge, they're saying it's not, right? The applicant's saying it's not illicit discharge, and so that's why they're standing strong on that.
But I don't,
Yeah, so I'm just curious how you all feel about that.
Okay, let's let Bill go because he's got his hand up, and then Tony next.
Thanks. And Andrew, thank you for making those points. I just want to express what I was persuaded by. I was persuaded by the fact that the Department of Transportation, as the landowner, said, you've got to fix this. I was further persuaded by the fact that, unless I misunderstood, Chuck shared at the public hearing that he had talked to Mass DEP as well. And they also said that this ran afoul of their regulations. In fact, that's what gives me confidence, in addition to what Chuck has said about making sure that the order of conditions, if we have a denial, everything is squared away. That and the fact that DEP seems concerned and DOT is definitely concerned. These are experts who work in this area all the time. So I just wanted to share, Andrew, that's where I had some confidence. I understand what you're saying, but that happens to be my perspective. Thanks.
No, me too. I saw that from the DEP. DEP wrote that letter saying that, and I'm like, that's pretty pretty convincing, but I don't know if they were just, yeah, but, I agree. Thanks.
So Andrew, I think where the consultant could help is by getting into the technical language a little bit. From my reading of the regs, I don't know if it's necessarily an illegal or an illicit discharge, but I do know that there's stormwater running off into a zone 1 recharge area.
Zone
Zone A recharge area. And that in itself, I think, is an important point. And I think the consultant will be able to get into the weeds a little bit more in those regulations and come up with the correct definition, the right wordage.
So can I jump in with some priming of the regulations? So this is in the state regulations, but under 10.04, which is the definitions section, illicit discharge, it says means a discharge that is not entirely comprised of stormwater. Right now we saw an oily sheen. It is not entirely comprised of stormwater. Then if you go forward to 10.05.10, it says all illicit discharges to the stormwater management system are prohibited. So to me, that's fairly black and white. It says what a discharge, illicit discharge is, and it says they're prohibited. So I think, to me, it's very clear that this should be a denial. So in my mind, going to LEC is to help us say that properly in a way that it gets accepted by the applicant and they do the work that's required without going through other steps such as a possible enforcement order or anything else, just to have the language done properly the first time.
Yeah.
2 more hands up. Do you want to say something, Chuck, before I call on them?
Yeah, I want to have an opportunity at some point to talk about why we would issue this order with a condition rather than just denying it. And
Why don't you do that now then?
okay, so I had an opportunity to talk to LEC a little bit about this project, and I think a denial is always tricky. And I believe that this applicant has met the performance standards for the work that they proposed. And so we really can't deny that work. And then what are the grounds for denying this project? I also talked to Libby Sabugian, who is the enforcement coordinator for Mass DEP. And over the years, it really seems to me that they want the commissions to do this work and to be on top of these issues without going to the mat. And I think issuing with a condition to correct this issue prior to work starting is a clever way to not get in trouble. And I will let you know, I did ask Libby if we issued a denial, what would DEP do? And that was almost the end of our conversation. Now that it became real, there were no
Hypotheticals.
yeah, there were no conversations happening after that. So I think that it would become serious at that point. And that doesn't mean that we can't deny this project, but I guess we're 1-1 in Reading on denials, and this seems to be a way that it doesn't have to happen.
Okay, Andrew first, then Bill.
Oh, I'm just hearing things and now my mind is just churning. After Brian spoke, I thought it sounded simple that we should just deny and move on and get the language written up correctly. But Chuck, I hear you with, I think if we are comfortable that this is illicit discharge, I know we're gonna get into trouble by denying it and it's gonna cause some fireworks, but in a way, it's the easiest thing to do at this moment in time, since we don't have a lot of, I'm not totally comfortable with approving with conditions, although I could see where I would want to do that, but I just need to keep thinking about it and I'll listen to what other folks have to say.
So I'm going to step in one more time. I did forget to mention that person that I would recommend that we hire to do this, that was their recommendation also. They said we would be on better footing.
Their recommendation is approve with conditions.
So
Okay,
if the,
Bill's going next.
sorry, Bill.
Bill?
Yeah, I appreciate the strategic insight. When it comes to DEP and superseding order of conditions and so forth, that just happens to be an area of administrative case law that I'm very familiar with. And getting that kind of advice from DEP, hypothetically, I think is very valuable. All that said, if we do go the direction, as it seems to be both the consultant and DEP recommend, of approval with conditions, if it's at all possible, what really bothered me last time was the property owner saying, well, if you saw an oily sheen, it's no different than you'd see on any residential driveway. From an environmental, legal, and practical standpoint, that's frankly ridiculous. Okay, fine. We move from that to the practical. The practical is, with whatever conditions we attach, I mean, can LEC say something about that, right? The illicit discharge is the hang up here. And if the applicant's position is, it's no different than any other driveway, which again, seems absurd because it's a gas station and residences are not gas stations. Maybe it isn't possible to have some kind of a language that addresses that position by the property owner. I just wanted to note it. It's really something that has stuck with me as not passing the straight face test. So that's my comment.
Bill, I don't want to lead you astray. No, Libby Savugian didn't want to have a conversation anymore when I asked her what they would do if we denied. It was LEC that said two different responses.
Right, but I understand that, and I understand why DEP would do that. I don't feel you're leading me astray. I thought that you were saying DEP wants commissions, to the degree possible, to handle this themselves, to think through the problem and so forth. Going to a denial with enforcement is not necessarily in that spirit. That's how I understood it. And so if we can approach this constructively, we get to the same place, i.e., you don't get to go forward unless you meet these conditions, but it puts us in a different posture. So I understood DEP, because they wouldn't. That would be crazy. They're not going to tell you explicitly what they would do if X happened. No, I get that.
I always feel like it's what is the easiest path for them. But I mean, these things don't rise to the level of a 21E site or years and years of filling. And that's really where they focus on. Where's the Boston Globe going to show up? And we don't have that here. So this would be something as, I hate to say it, but a nuisance. I'll get all the advice and all the help up to a point. But really what they're saying is what you just expressed is the commission should manage this if they can.
Chuck, I have a question. So if we were to issue an approval with conditions to address the discharge, they could still appeal that condition, couldn't they?
Absolutely.
However, they have time constraints, so they may take the path of least resistance also. So if I can say one more thing,
Right?
I still think that it's absolutely an illicit discharge. However, it's a compelling argument for the way to go about it. And if you back off and not try and be black and white and say, well, what's the point? The point is to protect the wetlands. It is more likely that that strategic path would achieve that goal rather than just given a black and white denial, which would cause them to take steps. And meanwhile, it's still discharging. So I still think it's illicit discharge. I think that's a better way to get it taken care of. So yes, I'm kind of changing my position, Andy.
And 2 weeks
What are you
ago,
thinking?
2 weeks ago, when he kept saying it was allowed in the 2007 plans, therefore we should be allowed to keep doing it, I keep thinking, well, yeah, and if you were dumping mercury into a river, just because you could do it 100 years ago doesn't mean you can keep doing it now. So, you know, I don't like that argument of, you know, it was allowed at the time we built the thing. You know, we have discovered this is a problem. We need to deal with it with our knowledge of the environment in 2024, not our knowledge from back when it was first built.
So if I could jump in the interest of the clock.
Okay,
I think we've discussed the issues. I think we are more or less in agreement. It certainly seems like it's a reasonable time to decide whether or not to go ahead and engage LEC. So, yeah, if you don't mind, I'd like to offer a motion.
So we need-
let's give Andy a chance because he had his hand up before you
Fair enough. I
done
just
talking.
trying to get it
Yeah.
close.
So Andy, last comment.
Yeah, I think I want to move it forward too, but if we do the approve with conditions, can we also do an enforcement order? Or would if we were to do the conditions, we would not do an enforcement order? We're just, because that was how I left it 2 weeks ago. I thought we could improve it because it doesn't seem related to the project, this illicit discharge directly. And then we could slap an enforcement order on them so that they couldn't really do it until they met the enforcement order anyway. But it sounds like the approval with conditions, you wouldn't do the enforcement order. Is that correct? Or is that something we would talk about with LEC? Is that where Brian was about to go with this anyhow?
So there's no need for an enforcement order until an enforcement action happens. So we would ride the order of conditions until we need to take action, such as they start the other work, which there's a permit process here in town, so that probably couldn't happen. Or I don't know. I don't know what would cause, you know, they don't.
They procrastinate for 3 years.
Yeah, but, you know, time's on our side with that. At least we've taken this first step. I don't know. It would be another discussion for the commission if they felt 2 years, 3 years from now that nothing's happened and this is still going on.
Discharging.
Okay, so Brian, you wanted to make a motion.
So you're gonna need a couple of things.
Okay. So the first is to make a motion that the commission vote to engage LEC using conservation funds up to $2,500 to get LEC's advice on this illicit discharge.
Do I have a second?
First? Oh, yeah, that's Brian's.
To get their advice or to write the conditions?
Yeah, consult on the writing of the,
Yeah, you're right.
we haven't declared what it is yet, but let's say it's an approval and order of conditions.
So amended.
This is Bill, I'll second.
Okay,
Andrew Driven, I'm in favor.
Walter Talbot, I'm in favor.
Bill McCance in favor?
Hunter Wintelockis in favor.
With the commission to vote to say that it's.
Brian, are you in favor?
Brian Bowe, I'm in favor.
Martha Moore in favor. So we voted 6-0-0, moved by Brian, seconded by Bill to hire LEC.
So apparently we need another motion to make it clear what we're talking about. So I'll make a motion that we vote to declare that it is an illicit discharge.
Or the commission, yeah.
Right. The commission declares it is an illicit discharge.
Okay, so you're moving that.
Yes.
Do we have a second for that?
This is Andy, I'll second that, and I am in favor.
Walter Talbot's in favor.
Bill McCants in favor.
Tony?
Getting hung up on the language. Can we revise the proposal to include illicit and/or prohibited?
Going back to the previous vote?
Going back to this vote, because Brian mentioned declaring it an illicit discharge. And I want to make sure that the language we're using is also consistent with the stormwater policies.
Sure.
And they use
So
prohibited.
amended to say that the commission declares that this is an illicit and/or prohibited discharge.
Okay, so let's start the vote all over again with that amendment.
Okay, so I'll second it with the, as amended with, what, as Tony stated, and I am in favor.
Walter Talbot's in favor.
Bill McCants in favor, and I'd like to thank Tony for adding that.
And everyone will walk us in favor.
I'm all in favor.
Martha Moore in favor. Moved by Brian, seconded by Andy, for declaring that's illicit or prohibited discharge. Okay, now, how do we feel about approving or denying this project? We need a motion related to that at this point.
Any conditions, and I know there's at least one.
Yes.
Okay. And so if there are no other conditions, then to include a condition requiring a resolution before work starts. Resolution of the illicit or prohibited discharge.
Or the work starts.
Work starts.
Okay, I think we also were very concerned about the condition of the pipe that leads in and out of that semicircle drain swale at the beginning. They needed to dig down and make that pipe work better.
They said that they were going to do all that work.
And that's included in their proposal, so we don't need to put it as a
They updated
condition?
that proposal, yeah.
Okay. All right. Is there anything else anybody is aware of that we were concerned about besides this one overflow? Andrew?
I know we were worried about their staging area, where they were gonna be putting all the materials and things. Were we comfortable with where they ended up? I think they pushed it just as close to the building on the wetland side still though, as they could.
Yeah.
Which was better than where it started, so I think I'm comfortable with it, but that was another,
And they also agreed to put a mulch around it to protect it somewhat.
Yep. Okay.
so.
So we want to make sure that's in the plan. I did definitely see that they moved it up the building and behind the part that sticks out.
Okay, I have that.
Okay, anything else? And so the condition about LEC is that we will have LEC consult with you and a commission member or two when they present their proposal, and that proposal will go into the order of conditions. Is that correct?
Yeah, the commission is also voting to allow, we may want to name one or two members to review the order of conditions, because we're not going to get to another meeting, and give them permission to allow it. So we need to vote tonight with review from one or two members. If you think that's needed, you can just tell me it's fine that I do it. But one or two members might want to be more involved.
I'm available to do it, but I think we have people on this commission that have more expertise than me. So if anybody who feels they have more expertise is willing to be the second person or the first person.
I'm willing to be part of it, not based on more expertise, but based on having some interest in it.
Okay. Bill or Tony or Walter or Andrew, do any of you feel like you have time or expertise to be part of that reviewing?
I don't feel like I have much to add to that. This is Andy.
I mean, I could look at it if it's done in time.
Okay,
Do we want to set a deadline for LEC?
Yeah, I'm gonna write all of it.
Okay.
They're gonna add a paragraph.
Okay.
You guys will review it. If you don't do it in time, I'm sending it out.
Mhm.
So we're not gonna not have time. It's because this is something I'm confident in myself, but I want to include the commission in my, I'm doing it this is because usually it's done, there's nothing to add, but this is a special case, so I'm trying to involve the commission at some level that works. So I don't want it to turn into craziness, rewriting a lot, but it's important to, get it right. So at some point you'll be seeing this, whether it's before LEC or just after LEC.
Okay.
And then, but we do want to postmark it the day before the due date. So
so that would be postmarked on Tuesday.
Yeah.
So would you?
I personally am comfortable, if Brian and Tony, thank you both, are willing to be involved. I think that's enough commission expertise to get this done along with Chuck.
All right, so are we good? Okay. So do we have a motion?
Take a whack at this one.
The motion,
To approve with conditions.
make a motion to approve the notice of intent with conditions
Or 87 Walker.
for 87 Walker Brook Road.
Do we have a second?
This is Brian, a second.
Okay,
all right.
and we need a vote. Andrew?
Is that, just before I vote, is it clear, the motion, that the conditions includes specifically the illicit discharge? Because that seems to be the big hangup. Do I need to make a friendly amendment, or is it already there?
But, yeah, I think the commission accepted it, but you can, I said it and the commission accepted it. That's as I understood it.
Okay, then I am in favor.
Walter Talbot's in favor.
Bill McCants in favor?
Tony Rodalakis is in favor.
Brian Bowe in favor.
Martha Moore in favor. And it was moved by Tony, seconded by Brian,
Yes.
and 600.
Okay.
Okay, we're done with that one. Zero Annette Lane will not be here tonight. We need to vote to continue. And I believe we're just continuing to February 14th. So can I have a motion to that effect?
This is Brian, I make a motion to continue 0 Annette Lane to February 14th.
Tell me I second that.
Andrew Drippin in favor?
Walter Talbot's in favor.
Bill McCants in favor?
Tony Rodalakis in favor.
Brian Bowe in favor.
Martha Moore in favor. Okay, moved by Brian, seconded by Tony, 600. All right, we're on the second page. 252 to 262 Main Street and 10 Pinevale. Do we need to vote that one to be continued, or did we vote last time?
It already has, but
Yeah.
We already voted, so we are not hearing from them tonight, and our next hearing is 71 Tennyson, and it's not even 8 o'clock yet. Okay, I'm going to read the blurb. Chuck can let people in. And it is continue the public hearing on a request for determination of applicability filed by Chris and Amanda Haley under the Massachusetts Wetland Protection Act, MGL Chapter 131, Section 40, and/or the Reading Wetland Protection Bylaw, Section 7.1. The applicant proposes to remove the existing deck, patio, asphalt driveway, and retaining walls and install a new deck, 25 by 25 feet, a new permeable paver patio of approximately 1,500 square feet, a new retaining wall, and a new permeable paver driveway of approximately 2,500 square feet. All invasive vegetation will be removed and all debris from previous homeowners' dumping will be cleaned out within and adjacent to the LEC environmental delineated wetlands. A vegetated buffer strip with native vegetation is proposed. All of the work, except for a small section of the driveway, is within the buffer zone to a bordering vegetated wetland. The application and plans can be viewed during regular business hours at the Town Hall Conservation Office, 16 Lowell Street, Reading, Mass. 01867, and on the Conservation Division page under the project by year. Assessor's map 11, lot 156, file number 2023-21. Okay, and these are the new plans that Chuck has up while I've been reading. Amanda, are you there? And would you like to talk about your new plan?
Sure. Thank you again for hearing us for the third time. Hope to come to some resolutions. So Donald is on the line to our contractor, and he's on the line so that he can discuss the plans because he's obviously that's his expertise and not. However, having said that, I did contact the neighbors. There's actually only one neighbor that owns all of that property back there. There is some very, very, very unhappy, concerned. They were very unhappy and concerned. I did contact two of them because I thought that one of them owned some of it as well. The first one I contacted is over in Whittier, and they stated, this is absolutely 100% not conservation. We had to take a tree down that was actually on the neighbor's property so that it wouldn't damage our house. Contacted Chuck. He told me that this is not conservation on this end and that we don't need to come before the board to remove said tree. So that was the first thing. And that was, I don't remember the exact date, but it was about 1.5 years ago. I then contacted the homeowner who owns the property. She said, I don't understand why you're calling to get permission from me. This isn't wetland. We were not notified, nor is my realtor aware that this is even wetlands. So she said, how do you know it is? And I said, well, back in 2013, when they did the addition, apparently it was delineated that it was wetlands. So she said, well, the most current up-to-date wetland map on the Reading website, which is a .gov website, does not show this as being wetland at all. So she was concerned. She was very, very, very upset to know that y'all were upset about what had been done back there, because since her and her husband have owned the property, they've done whatever they want back there because they were told it was not wetland, as was the other neighbor. So because of that, they've done what they've done back there, and that's completely, if it was wetland, it's completely destroyed what was possibly, because they've done so much damage back there. The other point that was brought up was, if this was delineated back in 2013 and needed to be approved for the project that added on to the home that I'm in now, why wasn't the map of Reading on Reading's website updated to reflect that? It still does not to this day. And I believe the last time it stated that the town had updated it was in the last, I know Donald can, I can bring it up too, is 2023 was the last updated version. So I guess that is our main concern, that why are we going through all this if the town has on their website that this is not an actual wetland? And a neighbor contacted Chuck to take down a tree and was told it's not a wetland. Seems to be some discrepancy that I think we need cleared up before, because if this is on a wetland, why we delayed our project by
let me try to
numerous
help
months.
with that. So the town GIS map is part of a Mass DEP flyover that we get. And there's a disclaimer on the front page that everyone skips past and doesn't read, and it simply states that these are not official, and that they're not to be used for permitting. So that flyover is a 30,000-foot flyover, and it doesn't pick everything. So the town does not state that we are delineating and showing every wetland in town. So that map that is being looked for, just like any business that has to do with surveying or conservation or any kind of field review, it's a data point. And most importantly, you might want to look at the contour lines. So not having a wetland on that map geo is how it is. There's thousands of them not on that. And no one's telling any resident of Reading to go to that and then determine whether or not they need to call conservation for approval. So it's not in our regulations to review that first and then to give us a call. I hope that helped with the map and why that's not applicable to this situation. I gave an approval to a tree. Often we're a little bit lighter when a tree needs to come down and it's in danger of a house. But probably at that point, I didn't know that this was a wetland. I myself probably looked through the database surrounding properties to see if they had pulled permits. I'm not sure that I did or not, and then looked at this map and gave an approval. And that's often what happens with trees. We get more serious, the commission, I've been instructed and have conducted myself over the years, we get more serious when the projects are bigger. And this may be the first bigger project in this area since I've got to Reading. So I hope that answered both those questions. Now, if this is some debate over it being a jurisdictional wetland, we can certainly request that a new delineation take place. But we are going off with a plan that says that it's been delineated by a company that we know of, that's still in existence, and that shows wetland boundaries. But you could always get
But aren't those
it.
good years?
What's that?
Aren't those only good for 3 years?
A delineation? There's a different mind frame in that in every community. Here in Reading, because of the building inspector accepting stamped plans back to, if we have a set of plans that are stamped, he'll often agree to use those for a project. It's up to him whether he says yes or no, but that's often the case, that if the Conservation Commission sees a delineation and they want to move forward and they don't ask for it to be redelineated, then that's what we go with.
Okay, so then I guess my final question is, if this was delineated wetlands in 2013, how come the map wasn't updated 10 years ago to reflect that?
Sure. No, I'm sorry I didn't fully answer that. What's online does not reflect what's here in town. And our GIS coordinator is not trying to do that. So when we have a delineation through Conservation Commission, I'm not turning that plan over to the GIS coordinator to put on that map. That map is something that we're getting from a service, not really here in town.
I got it.
That connection's not happening. It would be great. I mean, I would like it myself. It would feel like after myself and Frank and whoever else was before, we would have quite accurate assessment of all the wetlands that are here. I can't say that we would have done every one of them, but
sounds like something the board should consider.
But that connection doesn't happen.
It would create a lot less work for you, for sure, if if there was proper
Yeah,
a proper wetland map of what actual Reading is versus this. So I completely understand why my neighbors are frustrated, why they are upset, why they are nervous to get slapped with fines back here, for something that they were not aware of. So the straps that are on the trees, the zip line, all of that stuff that's back there that they've done back there is because they were not aware nor told, and the realtor was not aware that this was a wetland.
Yeah, I think they have so that's not conservation. The Conservation Commission is not after that type of use. The zip line, that strap that you were talking about, that doesn't come up. And we don't go after tree houses either. And other things that are, out in the woods and,
Mhm.
there's not that kind of activity around town. I think someone who's not on the commission anymore, but it's a great way to say it is, we're not cowboys. So we're not going around
Right.
doing that kind of work. But what's on the ground suffocating the undergrowth and preventing that natural process from happening, knowing that there was a delineation out there and that someone wanted to do something about it, sounded great. It sounded like, hey, we can get mitigation. And you also said, why do we need to do this? Well, right now, we have a delineation.
Mm-hmm.
It exists. You have to prove that it doesn't exist in order to, for us to say, all right, we'll go away. But we have one that says it's a wetland.
So
And
go ahead.
with
Sorry.
that, you would have to be on the other side of that and say, well, we have this, but we don't think it's there. So we hired someone and I want you to evaluate that. And that's where the commission would be in that process, but it's not how this works. The other reason why you want to do the work is because you need some sort of offset to the disturbance that you're doing in your own yard. And you wanted to offer mitigation for that work, for the variance, for the close proximity to, to developing the entire yard in that area. And to offer mitigation for that work is how the approvals happen.
Mhm. So just out of curiosity, if we hadn't been forth and honest and shown that, we wouldn't be here right now?
Well, when I went to the site, I'm not sure how it happened, but I did walk out there, and I think on that very first site visit, there was an oh yeah moment. And I don't know if I saw the plan first or I saw the area back there first, but happened pretty much at the same first site visit.
Right. I just want you to know where I'm just trying to get the questions clarified, not just for myself, but also for my neighbors, so I can go back and let them know. Because they're just as confused and, frustrated and upset as, probably more so than we are. We're not, we're just trying to do our project, get a very small variance and, help the environment at the same time. That's our goal. But I think they're more frustrated because they weren't aware that this was going. I can ease their nerves and ease their concerns and frustrations by just letting them know that you're not coming after their,
The only thing we don't want to happen is more dumping out. If you removed some, we don't want it filled back up.
right.
So just as long as they know that, like that yard waste should go to the compost area, or their landscaper should take it away,
Right.
not back area anymore. But that activity back there, I didn't see a problem with it. I don't think anyone mentioned that.
I'll say that often, typically, when we come across a situation where there's a climbing structure, a trampoline or something, we'll get an agreement that as the kids age out, that those structures will be removed. So that's the most that I think would happen in this situation, although it's not for me to say so entirely.
Right. Understand. Thanks, Brian. I will ease their nerves a little bit. They were terrified. They were like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, So I will contact them and let them know. And, you know, part of, like I said, part of the cleaning up process is, I did discuss that with them, and that, you know, we can't refill it back up, and we will, I'll reiterate that to them if,
Yeah,
you know,
just want to put on the record that if in fact some evening the zip line gets snipped, it's not me.
or me.
Okay, so, just cutting to the chase here, when they were this upset, did they actually give you permission to remove
Yes.
the yard
They-
waste?
Yeah, every neighbor has, and specifically the one who owns it, yes, because they know the value in having outdoor property that a family can use, and they're very excited for us, and they're very excited for everybody around us, you know, that we'll have this beautiful backyard and project. And they said, yeah, go ahead, do whatever you'd like. But they were frustrated that, I think more frustrated that they weren't aware than
Yeah.
anything.
So,
So we do have the email. Her name's Jill DiGiorgio, Jill and Mike DiGiorgio, and Chuck does have the email with the
Okay.
yes.
So if they have agreed that you can remove the yard waste, then let's go on and take a look at your plans.
I have a-
Chuck has something first.
yeah, so you said you sent me the email. I don't remember seeing it, but if I can reach out to you or,
Oh, I thought I sent it to Donald. I thought Donald sent it.
okay.
To you.
Maybe he
I'm
did.
pretty sure I forwarded it to you, Chuck, but I may have
Okay, let's, yeah.
dropped the
let's-
ball on that one, Joe. But I
Okay.
have it.
I think one more thing that I just want to make sure was clear. You're cleaning up this area, and that's great, and everyone understands that no one's going after others, but that same, it is a wetland, everyone knows it now, so those neighbors can't go in there and start spreading grass out. I mean.
Oh, I don't think they would.
Things are gonna grow up naturally, and that use that exists, which is the zip line and that top rope, that is, you know, the only things that we're talking about right now. I think that the same kind of approvals will happen in the future because, you know, for trees and whatnot, there are that's been on since like 2014, so that's not really an issue if anyone came before 2009, it's different.
Hi.
Okay, so we have a plan in front of us. It looks like you've drawn in some bushes and trees around the sides of the property, and you've drawn where you want the outline of the patio to be.
Donald go over the plan
Yeah.
and go over the,
Right,
go
so
over
that's
that.
what I was gonna ask,
Okay.
and the deck, so I wanna hear exactly what all that is supposed to be representing.
Donald,
Okay,
you-
so, yep, just so you know, the plantings are placeholders. I've actually contacted a landscape garden designer to help me with the exact placement. So these are more general places where they're going to be, not exact species on this design. The exact species will still be that same list that we're going to be working off of, minus the grow low sumac. So we went ahead and redesigned, or we redid the plans. So our black dotted outlines are for the patio space, patio and retaining wall. The two greenish marks are the 25 and 35 foot marks. So as you can see, because we have to be 10 feet off of the house with the deck and orientate it parallel to the house for the pool, there's almost no way for the deck pool combination to exist without extending slightly into the 35-foot zone. So that's where that staircase lands, basically right on the 35-foot mark. So we're actually asking for variance to push this to the 30-foot mark, which would only encompass around 180 square feet of that area, which is about 13% of the total space, at a width of 42 feet. So it's not, we're not proposing to go, 35 feet all the way back to the edge of the property or to the edge of the 30-foot mark. It's just that space, so we have enough room to accommodate the staircase and having a walk around access to the rest of the patio.
Donald, it's not clear to me, is that, as you go up the stairs, is that a landing and then the next set of stairs going up? Or is it stairs?
Yeah, I had to redesign the way that the stairs are going to be. We originally had cascading stairs from the top deck, but I don't think that that's going to work out just because it would take up so much room, both left and right. So this is a bi-directional staircase with a landing at the top. I think that arrow's the wrong way. I had some limitations with the software. Landing at the top and staircase left and right.
Sure. Do you want to go over the variance request?
Sure. So Chuck pointed me to the regulations for requesting a variance. In Part B, we're asking for the variance given that there's no reasonable, there are no alternatives for us to make the pool deck combination fit within the space. We have an existing bulkhead that's basically in the middle of the home structure in the back that cannot be moved. I went out and got some bids for it, and it's about $15,000 to move it. So that's a significant expense to the homeowners, and we can't block it up because it's a point of egress from the basement. So what else do I have? Again, the pool has to be 10 feet off of the home structure, and then parts B and C are mitigating measures, as we've already discussed. We're incorporating a permeable paver system that's going to allow water to naturally drain back into the soil instead of having excess runoff. And this, we're switching from a non-permeable space of over 2,500 square feet to a permeable space, which is a net positive to the wetlands and mitigating unnecessary runoff. In addition, we are tying in all of our downspouts on that side of the home to be hard piped underneath the patio. And there's still some question as to how far we can get those. We should be getting those that endpoint for the downspouts to the wetlands. I know we have to have some sort of riprap to slow velocity. I'm just not sure how close we can get to the end of the property line. If you guys have some guidance on that.
Well, I'll let the commission, but you can, as long as you don't discharge it off your property. I think that's important.
Okay.
But you get pretty close to, I mean, you might bring it all the way up to the garden bed or something, and then just outside that area. I mean, directing clean water into a wet area is okay.
Okay.
Andy, yeah, I don't know if you see Andy.
And it might even be a good thing to have back there because again, we're doing the buffer strip with the new vegetation. You know, just letting the roof water naturally water that area isn't a terrible idea.
Okay, I understand Andy has his hand up.
Yeah, I just want to say I'm sorry, but I have to step away from the meeting for a little bit. I have something I need to do. Just one, I didn't see the variance letter. Was that up there? Did I miss
It
it?
came in late and I didn't have time to put it up. That's why I've had Donald go over the variance tonight.
Got it. I have to be honest, I know you guys want to get this resolved and I'm going to step away so you do what you want, but I'm not in favor of the variance. It just seems complicated with the whole cleanup and the neighbor. I think this is a RDA. If you keep it away from the 35 foot, I have no problem with this project and and we can move forward. But if we're going to get into the variances and the cleanup, which I'm really uncomfortable with, to be honest, then I don't know how I feel. I mean, I'm not in favor of the variance, as minor as it is. It's not a reasonable alternative when you can make it work without doing that. But I'll leave it up to you all because I have to step away. But
Andrew, can I just make a comment real quick? It can't work. We've tried every other possible scenario. We're just trying to make a outdoor space for my family, my children. We're not asking for 40 feet. We're asking for 5. Thank you.
I thought the plan that was first put on the table was not going within the 35 foot, the one that was first submitted. So I'm also just getting like the sense that this isn't resolved and maybe you just need to resolve this plan before you come back to us. I don't know. This is getting unusually challenging when it is a relatively simple project. I agree.
We
but I
really
have to
need to
step
let
away,
Andrew
so-
go. I don't want to hold him up any longer.
So, but you guys, if it gets resolved tonight, I'm fine with that, but that's my 2 cents. So, thank you.
So I'm looking at the old plan and comparing it to the new plan, and the old plan didn't have any stairs. So how was the original access to the deck going to happen?
There's always been stairs, Martha.
I don't.
How else get up and down?
On this
They weren't,
picture, I don't see any stairs. I see
they
stairs.
weren't depicted. They weren't depicted on that plan. But the plan was to have a simple staircase to the right of the deck, which then does not allow access from the other side,
Okay.
and also gets in the way of where the pool is going to be.
The original,
The
yeah,
stairs
that
were, yep,
were the stairs on this plan.
we were going to have them top right.
Okay.
So if you're looking at, and I don't have control, but
Is there another,
So, yeah, that one is the previous deck.
that's the original.
Okay, so I guess my question is, in the new plan with the stairs going down in both directions, has the pool moved or has the deck moved?
We've moved the pool as well because having it in the original position gives a direct sight line to the street, which from a privacy perspective isn't the most ideal when you're trying to have a private space in your backyard. So shifting it over to the right-hand side of the deck allows for that privacy and gives more space on both sides of the pool.
Okay. One of the regulations says that you can have something cantilevered up to 3 feet over the 35-foot line. So you can go as close as the 32-foot line with something cantilevered. And so if your stairs didn't come down in that outer corner over the 35-foot line, that might be a way to meet those rules. So if your deck was cantilevered out beyond the 35 feet and your stairs came down on the right-hand side as original, then all we'd be waivering is the pavers underneath and not the building structure.
Yeah, cantilevering it poses a significant engineering feat. Okay, Ken?
What do other commissioners feel about the stair, the bottom of the stair is going over the 35 feet, and the pavers going about 5 feet beyond the 35-foot line? That's what they're asking for the waiver. And the mitigation to get that waiver is the cleanup of the neighbor's yard waste on the property wetland.
And
Correct?
it's the pervious pavers.
Right.
And it's the planting of native shrubs.
Right, okay.
So Will McCann has his hand up.
Okay, Bill?
Yeah, I'm still fine with the request. I understand that Andrew had whatever concerns he had, but to me, it was a straightforward variance request with mitigation, and we got the updated plan as we requested, and I personally have no concerns. So that's my comment.
Thank you.
All right, anybody else? Okay, I'm looking at the tree plantings, and you said you're gonna have a professional design them, but what it looks to me right now is a lot of that shrubbery is actually described as being over the property line onto other people's property. And is that just the way that picture shows it, or is that?
Yeah, that's simply a placeholder. Like all of that's going to be brought in.
All right.
It was
Normally,
more for,
the
and those
planting,
plants aren't even to scale.
normally we would have the planting plan in front of us before we can approve a project. So I'm a little concerned that that's just a placeholder rather than an actual planting plan.
I did not appreciate that we needed to have an exact positioning of every plant. We have our planting list that I will be deviating from. If anything, we'd be adding additional native plants off of the list.
I mean, my preference would be.
And obviously, it's all subject to availability as well.
Yeah. If Chuck goes back to the picture where the placeholder is of where the plants go, I had imagined that more of the plants would be in the 25-foot line and not on the property boundary closer to Main Street. Are those on that side more for privacy than for native 25-foot buffer zone? You know, I'm liking the ones.
No, it's not really a privacy issue in the back there because there's already thick vegetation in the summer anyways. Spring, summer, fall, early fall. So
I guess that's what my request would be, was to put more of that native vegetation in the 25.
Closer. Yeah. I'd be happy to bring it in. Because basically that area is not, you know, it's right now it even gets saturated during heavy rain. So it's not like Amanda and family will be down there, you know, kicking the ball around. So I'm happy to make almost all of that, you know, a natural or a native planting area.
Okay.
Because right now it's kind of just dead space.
Yeah, so I think I just wanted to clarify, what Martha was asking, I believe, was the row of shrubs along the left-hand side of the picture. She was asking if that was there for privacy or not. And if not, then she was kind of, all of it would be in a 25-foot buffer zone.
Yeah. Yeah. It's, again, not for privacy, more for, you know, property line delineation, aesthetics.
Right.
But again, I just make the things pretty. I have people that tell me how to make them pretty.
So could we consider having a condition for a plan? Does that make sense in order to try and move forward?
Yeah.
Let's hear it.
Oh,
Yeah, I mean, the planting list is in front of my designer, so it's, she's just a little bit backed up right now. So she can turn it over rather quickly and I can shoot it over to you guys.
so my assumption is that if we had an updated exact plan and we approved that plan, that we could then vote on an approval. So my condition would be that there would be approval once there was an exact planting plan that was approved by Chuck. We've done in the past.
So let me, I think what you're trying to say, sorry, but so an approval is something you guys do. So
Right.
I could just issue it, you're gonna approve it tonight. I could issue it once Donald has a new plan
That's
and
what it says.
a new native planting list that would fill that plan out. Is that,
You're correct, that's the language. that
okay,
We would approve it and you would issue it once you got that
Yeah.
updated plan.
So amended.
okay, great. Was that a motion and it's seconded?
It wasn't yet.
Thought it was.
Okay, okay.
Can I get a,
So this is Brian. I make a motion that we approve 71 Tennyson with the condition that there is an updated planting plan with exact representation of species type and placement that Chuck would be satisfied with and then issue.
and you want to accept the variance also?
And amended it to say that we would accept the variance.
Thank you. So just to clarify and confirm, so this is all like, I don't know a lot of language and whatnot. So, Mr. Bowe, presented a condition that if when we had Donald have the landscape person come back to Chuck with the exact placement of plants and trees, that it would be approved, we would not have to come back again a second time, or we need to come back to close it?
No, that's what I'm trying to achieve here is that we would
Okay.
approve tonight with that condition.
Got it, okay,
Once the condition is met, everybody's happy.
got
And-
it.
And just so you know
Right,
so I wouldn't be signing off on the building permit or anything like that until this happens. And you guys know the frame of your process. So if it happened 3 weeks from now or a month from now, you would just need a new plan and a native planting list. And I would just look at it, verify the plants on it. And then once it's approved, I could not only send you the determination, but I could sign off on the building permit too. So the process is be over with those two pieces of those two documents.
Donald, is that sounds reasonable?
Yeah, I have a call scheduled with the landscape designer tomorrow.
Great, okay.
And so do we need to approve the variance first and then we vote on the RDA, or can it all be one thing in Brian's one motion?
I don't think I think you can do them both. I don't see that variances.
Okay, so it can all be one motion.
Yeah.
So then just, Brian said he was moving to approve, but actually this is a request for determination. And what we need to do for them to be allowed to do this is for us to vote for a negative determination.
Yes.
And a negative determination gives you the ability to move forward with your project. So that's the language that needs to be in Brian's motion.
Okay, so to amend it, I make a motion that we give a negative determination, 71 Tennyson, with the condition that there's an updated planting plan to scale with the list of the species of trees and shrubs and in the exact intended location
And accept the variance.
and accept the variance.
I think that language will do it.
That should be done by now.
Tony, I second that.
Okay, Brian moved, Tony second.
He's not here, Walter, you go first.
Walter Talbot votes in favor.
Bill McCants in favor.
Tony Rodalakis in favor.
Brian Bowe in favor.
Martha Moore in favor. And we approved that 5-0-0. Brian making a motion for negative determination and accepting the variance. Tony seconding. And we need the planting plan before it can be issued.
All right, thank you. Any questions on
Excellent.
office or shoot me an email. Amanda, thank you very much.
Okay,
Thank you all
I
for
appreciate it. Thank you all.
understanding and consideration, and also thank you for all the lessons I've learned about conservation Reading over the last 3 meetings.
Our board for you.
I appreciate it all. Thank you.
Thank you, bye-bye.
Thanks. Bye.
Next on our agenda, we're already on old new business. Or wait a minute, do we have, oh, we have Walnut Street, sorry. I jumped the gun because where I was taking notes. We have, Walnut Street is being continued to February 14th. Was that voted on already? So we need to have a motion to continue Walnut Street to February 14th.
This is Brian. I make a motion to continue 246 to 248 Walnut Street to February 14th.
This is Tony, I second.
Walter Talbot's in favor.
Bill McCants in favor.
Tony Rodalakis in favor.
Brian Bowe in favor.
Martha Moore in favor. Moved by Brian, seconded by Tony, 5-0-0 to continue the hearing till February 14th. Okay, now we're on old new business.
There's no violations updates, so you can move right down to discussion items. I have number 9 as a conservation DPW monthly meeting. I've added some items on that we would discuss. And I'm really putting that out there just in case members see things that are DPW related. If they could send them to me, we could discuss them at our meeting. DPW meeting is good to kind of like bring out these issues and just get some reminders out there of work the commission needs. So not much discussion about that unless there was anything that people knew about that needed to be added to that tonight, but I will accept an email.
And I believe I'm available for the February 6th meeting. If anybody else wants to come, they are welcome.
I always believe I'm available. I'm actually not always available.
Okay, Brian will try to make it.
That's true.
Okay.
There are no bills.
Okay, no bills. Land use summit.
No. The land use summit, a quick update. Actually, I got there an hour late because I was fortunate enough to have to help my mom get some water out of her basement. And yeah, so I was an hour late. And so I was going to ask Martha or Brian to kind of give a quick update, but I know that a lot of people showed up. We talked about a lot of different things. Committees and the commissions seem to appreciate it, and they set a goal as to have another meeting coming up in the future. I believe that would be September, October, November, sometime in that fall area. It hasn't been set in stone at this point.
Yeah, we have a proposed date. I think it was an October date,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
my phone just died, so I can't check my calendar anymore.
Oh, that's all right.
I think it was October
Email-
19.
I do have minutes too, which I could distribute to the commission if anyone's interested.
Yeah, Walter is saying it was October 19th.
Okay.
Yeah, I believe that Nancy Doctor was taking minutes. And is that where you got your minutes from? Okay, yes,
That's my
it would be
brother's
good to
version.
distribute those minutes. Thank
Right,
you.
so just quickly, just without getting into any details, but the topics that were covered were things like mountain bikes and handling of approvals and where, what have you. There was a fairly good discussion on dogs, limits and things of that nature. Another topic was communication with the town manager. Then there was a conversation about invasive species. There was a conversation about planting. Actually, I think what we said was it should be that there was invasive species, but not planting. We said to put that on the next agenda. There's a conversation about trails and boardwalks and the flooding thereof that got tied to extreme weather concerns and also to some tree removal. So those three were wrapped into one conversation, pretty much driven by extreme weather. Kathy Kelly had the idea of it would be useful to have a full-size town forest map. All that's available right now is a fairly small one, so a full-size one for display purposes and what have you at public events. Well, and then there's another one, I can't read my handwriting. Oh, there was a conversation about shared goals. That's what it was. And shared goals were things like parking lot and trail usage. Another one was minimizing signage, town forests and conservation lands in general. There was a conversation about connecting different neighborhoods with trails. And that's when there was a brief mention that there's a gentleman who's trying to have connection all the way from Ipswich, I think they said, way down past us. And he's going to ask permission to come before us at some point to talk about getting some kind of access to Bear Meadow. And then Saturday, October 19th.
I think he's coming to a upcoming trails meeting, and we were
That's correct.
invited to go to that
That's
upcoming
correct.
trails
Yeah,
meeting.
good point.
Thank you, Brian. That's all useful. Thank you for sharing that with us. Okay, anything else? Anybody else who was there have any other input from the Land Use Summit? And while we're in the area of Matera Cabin, I believe that they were supposed to start bringing the materials to build the pavilion at the Matera Community Gardens today. Do you know if any of that material has been delivered yet?
So the material is supposedly showing up tomorrow,
Okay,
but some of the equipment has shown up, and we should be on track. I think there's, everyone should go and visit Matera at the end of next week, and you'll see a pavilion. Maybe you'll see one by Wednesday, but it should go up pretty quickly.
And the pavilion's not at the cabin, it's up the slope beyond the community garden, or it will be. Not the-
right. Let's hope the weather cooperates.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that we have until the 31st to close out our grant. So it will be done.
Okay.
Shine.
Okay, so the last thing on the agenda is approving the minutes for November 8th and December 13th. And some of us have sent corrections to Chuck for both of those sets of minutes. Are there any other corrections that people may feel are important that they didn't send in?
Probably caught it, but on one of the sets of minutes, the list of attendees were listed as absent
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've told Chuck about that. Just move that chunk of names down a row. Yeah. And Brian found a few typos. I found some places where I have in my notes differences of who moved and who seconded compared to what the minutes said. So I've sent those all to you.
Right. Make those changes and then post those minutes.
Okay. All right. So is there any other changes that need to be made? Okay, can we have a motion to accept the minutes as amended for November 8th, 2023?
This is Brian, I'll make a motion to accept the minutes as amended for both November 8th and December 13th of last year.
This is Tony, I'll second.
Walter Talbot's in favor.
Bill McCants in favor.
Tony Romalakis in favor.
Brian Bowe in favor.
Martha Moore in favor. Approved 500. Okay. Any other business to discuss tonight? I hate to let you guys go. It's all not even 9:15 yet.
We deserve it.
Okay. I did do a short site visit today. It's not something that we're planning to talk about, but I did go and look at that other trail that's between Martin and Deborah Drive. And I'll be happy to report on that at our next meeting.
Great.
Unless you want to hear from me now, but it's not on the agenda. So
Besides, you have to have pictures and music too. So.
I have no pictures and no music.
I don't think it would be appropriate to talk about that
Okay,
since they've continued.
right. Yeah. So, but I made sure, since I had planned to go do it at our last hearing, I made sure I did it before this one, so I can report on it next time. Okay, can I have a motion to adjourn at 8:42?
This is Brian, I make a motion to adjourn at 8:42.
This is Tony, second.
Walter Talbot's in favor.
Show of hands.
Okay, all in favor? Thank you very much.
Right.
Good night, all.
Good night.
Adjourn. Thanks. Bye now.